AEW Dynamite going with the strategy of more is more for Fyter Fest. It is a 4-hour block of AEW with Collision being moved to Wednesday, an experiment, if you will. And my guess coming out of it is we get a 3-hour Dynamite at some point very, very soon. But for the match card in general, I think that there is a lot that you can be really excited about. International Championship 4-way. You have Kenny Omega, Brody King, Claudio Castagnoli, and Mascara Dorado. Honestly, they have 4 hours. This one could go a while. This could be a really, really long match, given the talent that you have in this. I would be surprised if at this point you're beating Kenny. I think that we start to set up a Kenny Okada thing for All In and build it up kind of that way. But I think in ring standpoint, this is going to be absolutely spectacular. Some of the stuff that we're going to see from Omega, Brody King, Claudio, and Mascara Dorado. AEW Women's Champion, Timeless Toni Storm, and Mina Shirakawa taking on Sky Blue and Julia Hart with Mercedes Moné on commentary. The promo battle that they had, they being Toni Storm and Mercedes on last Wednesday, was fantastic. You had Toni keeping enough of the innuendo to keep the Timeless Toni Storm character, but you also had a seriousness about it that I think really drove home the kind of dream match element of it, saying that there are going to be kids watching and they're going to be inspired by it. She said it in a Timeless Toni Storm way, saying, holy shit, these bitches are crazy. But like they are treating this with the respect that they should. And so the one thing, and we saw it, like there's still a bit before All In. And we saw in WWE with WrestleMania, Gunther and Jey Uso got to a hot start. And then it cooled down a little bit. Got it back up at the end. But now what is kind of the week to week with this particular build? How do you get there with these two? I'm very excited to see. And a good spotlight here for Sky Blue and Julia Hart and Mina Shirakawa as well. Interesting match with Jon Moxley and Mark Briscoe. I think that there is, like, I don't know how much storytelling coming out of it or anything like that we will see. Could you do like a Moxley is now on a rampage and he's going to take out, pardon the pun, he's going to take out a bunch of AEW guys here, and it's going to start with beloved Mark Briscoe, who has, you can make a tie with Hangman Adam Page and send a message that way. I think you could see something like that. I think whatever this match turns out to be, it's going to be very interesting. I thought Hangman was phenomenal in building it up. I am surprised coming out of the Owen. I always thought when the Death Riders thing was going to come to an end, that it would probably be Ospreay or Omega being the one to be like, we are AEW now. We are taking this from you. And instead, it's Hangman. And I think that's a great call for this as well, and I think he showed why on Wednesday, but we'll see what kind of investment he has in this one. And then lastly, the Toxic Spider, Thekla, makes her in-ring debut. She obviously, like, she's always been in shape, but she definitely spent her entire time away from Stardom before AEW doing crunches, because the abs were popping on Wednesday. But she has a look, obviously. And the spider thing and the quick whip around, like, it's gifable, it is memeable, and it's memorable, more frankly. I just came up with that. But I am so high on this talent. I love the character in Stardom, and I actually kind of thought was a touch underutilized in Stardom, especially when the Marigold stuff came down and everything like that. But this is genuinely one of the better performers in the world and has an amazing character coming right into it. I think can really buy into that. I think you have an interesting feud already with Jamie Hayter that kind of keeps her, I don't want to say occupied, but gives a pretty high level spotlight to that, and can tell an interesting story with Hayter as well. As she said, like, that this is a career turning point, and then she lost at Double or Nothing in the Owen. So where does she go? Well, now she gets jumped by Thekla, and you have a big thing happening out of this. But there's a lot there for Thekla. I genuinely could see her as a women's world champion at some point. I think she is that good. So a lot of intrigue coming on AEW. But like I said, like they're hitting a stride. There was obviously a lull there for a really long time. I do think patience has kind of paid off here a little bit with the Death Rider storyline, because now you have Hangman able to be the one to save AEW and really solidify him as a superstar. Not that he isn't, but solidify him as like the face of AEW. If they would have had Swerve win it, and then you have Hangman Swerve one more time, there's a way you could have done it. And there's a way you could have done it to save us from the Death Riders thing a bit ago, and maybe not brought down TV and attendance ratings to the point where 3,000's a win. But I'm not saying that this was the only thing that caused that, but I do think that there are openings now. Like you've been patient with this, and there's a chance that it really pays off. You have a women's title feud that I think a lot of people are really going to get behind. You have Okada, Omega, we're presuming that people are going to get excited about. Ospreay, Swerve, whatever direction they go in, I think a lot of people are going to be really invested in that. So you have stories that people are excited about. You have a match quality that AEW is just second to none on. Also, the times that AEW thrived were the times that WWE were down, right? Like they were the alternative. Well, WWE, obviously, financially, on fire. Creatively, we talked about it earlier. There's a lot to like about what WWE is doing right now. But there are a couple cracks in the foundation a little bit now. The move of WrestleMania away from New Orleans to Las Vegas, it feels like a cash grab, right? And so people are like, And then R-Truth is gone. And you're releasing like Cora Jade and Dakota Kai and all these wrestlers who have had real health problems and worked their way back and you're cut. And so there is a perception problem with WWE amongst certain members of the fan base. There's always going to be the tribalism thing. But WWE doesn't feel as unconquerable as they felt 18 months ago. 18 months ago. This does feel like there is an opportunity, at least for AEW, to come back into the overall general populace and start to have it where 5,000 people are coming to your shows, and you're not losing to NXT every single week. So I think that there is a lot that you can be excited about for AEW. I think they're kind of peaking at the right time, and WWE has started to open the door for them a little bit based on a couple of their moves. So big time for AEW.